Next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we'll be talking about the finer points of design with one of the leading design firms in Texas. That's just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've been icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, if you went back a generation or two ago, there was a little bit of a East Coast, West Coast snobbery design. They would both tell you there's nothing going on between the coasts. And I beg to differ. That has completely changed. And part of the reason for that is leading design firms like my next guest, Evan Beattie. He is the CEO of GFF. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Okay. Now, when I look at Dallas-Fort Worth, I see some amazing buildings. Tell me your story. When did you first come to Dallas?
I moved to Dallas after graduating from UT Austin in 2003, and have been here since. It's been a city that's been great to me. I'm not a native Texan, and I've found that in Dallas, everybody here is just really open to having new people come in and help shape the city's future, especially people who are passionate about creating a more urban, walkable, and livable environment for the next generation.
If you had to describe a DFW look, what is the look that we have?
That's a good question. We're kind of lucky in that we don't have an overly defined architectural style or character. Architects that practice in Dallas are able to have a bit of a blank canvas. We're not tied to, except for in some smaller historic districts like the West End, overarching styles that say, okay, this building must be all red brick, which is something that we really like. The context of Victory Park is much different than the context of designing on Lower Greenville or in Uptown, and that's a lot of fun for architects.
You and I were visiting before the show, and your interest in architecture goes back to your formative years in high school. Is that right?
Well, actually, middle school.
Really?
When I was in 8th grade, I took a class where we were asked to pick from a one-page list of potential careers what we wanted to do, and we had to look at what your income would be in that career and what the work life would be. And I researched the options and landed on architect, and I really never wavered from that career choice from being an 8th grader on through high school and into college.
That's awesome. Well, tell us about GFF. What separates you from your competition?
We're really proud to have very engaged principal owners in the work that we do. We have 10 owners, 9 of which are in Dallas and 1 of which is in our Austin office. We all have different market sector expertise. And when you hire GFF to lead the design of your project, you're getting somebody who's an owner of the company who has their hand very close to what the work that's happening. And I think with a lot of other firms, as they've grown in scale, it can be harder to hold on to that. So we're a boutique design firm of 140 people that's really passionate about architecture, interior design, landscape, and planning. And we have an outsized impact on the built environment in the cities we're in.
Well, it surprises me when you say boutique, I think of a very small shop. 140 people is a lot of people.
Well, the way we think of ourselves as boutique because we're organized in small teams within that 140, and our teams follow projects all the way through from start to completion. So we have, of our 140 people, we have 10 or 11 different design studios that are really engaged in the work we do, and each one of those functions like a boutique firm within a firm. It's a way of, even though we've grown to be 140, still hold on to that small boutique culture and feel.
That's wonderful. Well, one of the reasons why you guys are so successful is you believe in giving back. In fact, you were recognized by the Dallas Business Journal. We're going to put that award up on the screen. DBJ's Most Inspiring Leaders. Tell us about that.
Well, we were very honored to be selected by the Dallas Business Journal for this award in recognition of leadership through a pretty challenging 2020. Our firm was definitely impacted by COVID-19 and how we rolled with the punches through this last year, kept our team safe by working from home, and used some extra time we found that we had as some of our projects slowed down to give back to not-for-profits like Soupmobile, which I know we have some common ground with, Buckner International, and Cane Rooster Rescue are examples of not-for-profits where we used our team members' times to help advance their charitable causes, and always end up getting more back from those contributions we're able to do using our professional skills to help not-for-profits doing great work in the Dallas community.
Well, Evan, as part of that award, the DBJ interviewed you, and I was so impressed with the clip. Let's go ahead and roll that now.
Talk about the work GFF is doing to give businesses corporate environments that are suitable for a post-pandemic workplace. And what are the biggest changes?
Well, we've gone through a lot of transitions in the last 18 months. We all went to working remotely very quickly and had to be strategic about how we made that transition and how we continue to interact. As people have started to come back into the office, companies that had enclosed offices benefited in that they were able to have space and separation, accommodate that more easily. Companies with large open floor plans like we have at our office had a bigger challenge coming back. I think as we're moving into a post-pandemic phase of this, we're going to see companies place a lot of emphasis on spaces within their offices for interaction, for training, getting people together in groups. And a lot of employees, when they need to be focused and working alone on something, they're going to want to do that from home. They're going to want to save the drive time and sit down at a desk at home and grind. They've got that home office set up now. They like doing some of that, but they want to come in and interact. When they're in the office, they want to have those highly interactive spaces. So as we're talking to companies now, we're really placing a lot of emphasis on interactive spaces and training and places for collaboration.
How do you foster that collaboration in a remote workplace for your work, which is highly visual and collaborative?
We've really leaned into technology adoption. Bluebeam Studio is a software that we use a lot to be able to draw on PDFs live. And when the pandemic hit, we saw Bluebeam as being a really important tool, both internally and externally with our clients, to be able to take the trace paper that we would have drawn on if we were in person and move it to be on the screen. And so we really leaned into Bluebeam adoption and used that a lot to communicate with our clients in project team meetings, as well as internally in marking up drawings and using that to help teach and instruct our employees. Over a year of working remotely, we really felt like training had to become an even more special emphasis. And that's ultimately what's caused us to feel like we need to be back in the office in a blended model right now of working in the office and working from home. Our interns don't even know what they were missing out on not being together and being able to hear how the difficult phone call is dealt with, how we handle conversations internally and externally that you can't overhear if everybody's on the phone and it's just happening one-on-one. Beyond just getting together in a room, though, if you're in a room, nobody can hear what you're talking about except for the people in the room. A lot of the way we work, because we have an open office plan, is collaborating around an open table. And it's always fun when somebody who's 10 or 15 feet away hears what we're talking about and runs over to add something. That's a big part of our culture, that collaboration, and not doing it behind closed doors, but doing it together in person in a place where ideas can flow and the best idea can win.
Well, Evan, it's very timely that you're here because it seems like all companies are trying to navigate this right now. And you're in something of a situation where you have to look into a crystal ball because we don't truly know how this is going to play out. There's a little bit of a tug of war between employees who want to come back, stay at home, hybrid. I mean, how do you predict what this is going to look like a year from now?
Well, there definitely is a lot of variation based on the way people work at different companies and industries. I think we're going to see a lot of change in this next year. Some groups are going to come back, and there's going to be resistance among their employees to be back, and they're going to see turnover. They're going to see some employees choose to go work somewhere else that's willing to have either a blend or a fully remote option, if that's now a better fit for the way they want to work and live. I do think we're going to see companies increasingly want to move so they can change their office space, physically change it to be a better fit for the way they're working now. I think in the next 2 to 3 years, as people do come back and see, oh, we don't have enough of this type of space within our office, they're going to say, well, it's easier to actually move to a new office space than to try to adapt your existing space while you're in in it. It can be easier at times to just move. And I think you're going to see a lot of emphasis placed on offices that are in a great spot that employees want to come into, offices that are close to walkable restaurants, that are close to parks and open space, becoming more and more popular as employees need to be convinced that, yes, coming back to the office is a good thing. I want to be there. It used to be you were competing with your competition in your industry. Now you're also competing with your employees' living room or home office to get them into the office. And we really need to have great office space to have our employees come in, be productive when they're there in person, and have them want to be there rather than just working at home in their PJs.
Absolutely. Well, you and I talked a little bit about Soupmobile. Let's go ahead and put on the screen a project that you helped design. This is a food pantry. Talk about the Soupmobile.
Well, it's a great nonprofit that's making a difference for those in Dallas that are living in areas where there's a food desert and there's lack of access to food. Great inspiring leader who I think you probably know better than me.
Yeah.
I haven't had much direct engagement in our work for Soupmobile, I'll admit. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about what they've meant to you in your career and how you're engaged with them.
So I met Soup Man, Timothy, who is just such a grounded man. I mean, he wakes up every morning thinking about how he can serve the Lord. And so the fact that you're giving back to him blesses my heart because he's blessing so many people. And so God bless you for doing that project. That's wonderful. And I know he's really growing his ministry in South Dallas. And so thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. We're blessed to have an opportunity to work with him. And we just love as designers when we can have our professional skills help somebody who's doing great work for people in need. You get an exponential impact, and it's so fulfilling when we get to work with people like the Soupmobile team. So we're grateful for the opportunity.
Absolutely. We've got about a minute left, Evan. So that's your camera there on the left. What would you like to say to the CEO who might be thinking about, well, maybe it's time now that we're coming out of COVID to go ahead and pull the trigger on that project that they've been thinking about?
Well, we're at GFF. We're a team of people who are really passionate about great design, and we're lucky to be here in Dallas, Austin, and Fort Worth, as where 3 offices are. And we really bring a lot of energy to our projects and opportunities and creative thinking. And so, if you're out there thinking about changing the way you work, changing the way you live, changing the way you eat out or shop, we'd love to be a part of the team helping you imagine a better future for your company. And there's some great opportunities to innovate right now with new technology adoption, and we're entering a period of rapid change, and we'd love to help guide you through that change with great design.
Evan, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're going to end with your website. GFF.com is the website. Evan Beattie, CEO, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. This was fun.
You bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.